Thanks for coming along. I would like to welcome our members and guests and supporters. I'd like to mention our local director, Rick Ross from Metzol, is here with us. And thanks again for the opportunity to present. And when I first heard Nick's presentation at IMAC in Melbourne, I fell in love with the presentation and the concept. And this is the perfect example where we would like this program and many other initiatives to go, because it's all about collaboration, innovation, and internalization. And that's what Austmine is passionate about. And it is difficult times out there. We've heard this many, many times, and I hear this wherever we go in the world, whether it's China, Kazakhstan, Brazil, Chile. It's very tough out there. But I guess right at the moment, Paul referred to a statistic that many of our members over the last 3 years have moved their business overseas. So within 3 years, the statistics of companies exporting has moved from 55 to 66%. Unfortunately, this number has not significantly changed in South Australia. 4 or 5 years ago, 30-something% of companies exported. This number hasn't really changed in South Australia. So what's the opportunity? The opportunity is to work with the government, work with another organization that has global reputation and connections, which is GHG. This is a combined presentation. I'll be very brief. Later on, Jeremy Stone from GHG will talk more about the program itself. This is a program, I don't want to go into too much detail, but the extent part of the program is about taking you onto the journey to access supply chains globally. Globally means not only globally outside Australia, also in Australia, working with the big mining companies, the Rio Tinto, BHP, Austmine that also work outside the South Australian jurisdiction, but also in around the world. And our experience, particularly over the last 6-7 years, it was to take companies to other places, to other projects, and I'll be getting into more details later on. But when you are over the last few years, when you talk to the companies, and I had just 2 examples. BHP Billiton recently contacted us talking about what was mentioned earlier. They would like to talk to smaller companies about automation and ICT related to automation. They know the Rockwells, the ABBs, etc. But one of the guys, I don't want to mention name, otherwise he'll be bombarded with phone calls, from someone from the leading technology at BHP in Perth said, look, they are too rigid. These big companies are too rigid to react and to change their strategies to be in alliance with ours. We want to talk to the small companies. They don't care about their strategies, the corporate objectives, etc. They are smart enough to change and adopt, and that's something very important. The other thing was, briefly, I was in November in China, and you would believe, everything gets imported and exported from China. Things are changing. I was talking to suppliers, Chinese suppliers. They struggle. They struggle supplying to their operations in China. First of all, they're expensive, but on the other hand, they're not innovative enough. Their products are not innovative enough. So there's an opportunity for us. Why are we partnering up for this, on this project with GHG? Well, GHG is a company that covers many, many sectors. And Jeremy will be talking about GHG in more detail. But this is a perfect partner to take you on the journey across the supply chain, across the commodities, across the scale of projects and countries. So that's why we work with GHG. But it's just a logical choice because they've delivered similar program in other places in Australia and beyond. METS, it was mentioned, METS. Well, METS is basically Mining Equipment Technology Services, and you have some of the key players in South Australia. But as basically was already said, this is from exploration down to mine closure. We have big companies, we have small companies, and the most important thing is that we realize that big companies working with small, across the tiers, laterally, from exploration to closure, this is the best formula really to innovate. So you innovate working with each other in Australia beyond, and being supported by, particularly in these difficult times, by governments, whether at state or federal level, and internationally. I don't want to go too much into detail, but Austmine is really well positioned. We are an organization that drives all these three values. Innovation, basically a program like this, working directly with mining companies, with large EPCM, etc., etc. We educate you with a number of publications, webinars, events, etc., etc. Actually, one that I would like to mention is the next event we'll be holding here in Adelaide on the 3rd of March in the afternoon with iLuca will be presenting. That's an opportunity maybe to rewrap on the progress of this program. And obviously we go around the world talking to big mining companies directly, taking our members to those mining houses in many, many jurisdictions. About the program, so there's more information, more detailed information in here, but this is basically a business-to-business mentoring program, which, as Jeremy will be discussing this in more detail. So there is a certain number of hours of workshops, business-to-business, face-to-face, or video conference, interactive workshops and mentoring sessions, and which ultimately should get you sort of prepared to access global supply chains. So be ready to go to one market of interest, depending on your specialization, on your interest, and your company strategy. While I mentioned Austmine being part of this program, this is obviously an identify part of the program. So if you're interested to be part of the extent, as Stuart mentioned, there's at the back of this brochure is how to apply for the program. There is a certain selection process to qualify against the objectives that we are working on with GHD, and then the program will kick off hopefully in the first week of March until July, August this year. What's optional is to go one of the missions, and actually yesterday we discussed the opportunity. There are lots of missions we take around the world, but the one that we discussed yesterday with Lachlan and his colleagues is possibly the one going to Canada, because the one going to Canada will be just after the Mine Expo, so that gives you maybe an opportunity to go to one of the biggest mining exhibition in the world, and then go to Ontario, look at opportunities in Canada. So at this stage, I would like to introduce Jeremy Stone, who's the group manager for GHD in terms of innovation. So he's the expert on innovation, and I don't have much of a CV, but I think Jeremy will be very well placed to talk about the program and how GHD and Austmine will deliver this over the next 6 months. So please welcome Jeremy.
Yeah, thanks, Robert, and thank you for your time to be here. We only have about 6 slides left, so the morning's almost over. I've got an interesting title, Innovation Group Manager of Innovation at GHD, but it's actually very serious business. It's serious business to grow businesses, so it's a lot of fun, but it's also a lot of hard work as well. Just a quick snapshot of GHD. We're a global professional services company. But in fact, we've got our own experience about growing our business as well. We started in 1928 in Australia, and we've had to go on our journey of connecting out into the global supply channels, understanding the markets, and accessing new opportunities for our business as well. So we have 8,500 people in over 200 offices around the world. We're in lots of markets. We're in the mining or energy and resources market, as we call it, transportation, water, environment, and property and buildings. And they actually sometimes interrelate. So although we may be looking at the met sector or a manufacturing sector, it's amazing how that connects into other sectors and markets as well. So we don't try and silo our business too much. We have a focus area, but we do like to cross-connect with our clients, our partners, and our own supply chain as well. So our experience in this sort of area, this business-to-business mentoring and innovation and growth of business. So our innovation program is all about business growth through new ideas and new partnerships, new models, new business models. So this fits very nicely into what we're talking about here in the PACE program. So we've run our own innovation program since 2008. So innovation's an often used word. I reckon I've heard it 100 times this morning already. but actually to convert that into business growth is really what this is about. So we don't want to talk about innovation, we want to do innovation and then convert that into business growth. That's the hard part, but there's a great inspiration and great opportunity in doing that. So we've run our own innovation program to learn about it, understand it. We go and help organisations with their own innovation journey. DC Water in Washington was our most recent project over there. We've commercialised our own ideas, so we've gone through that journey ourselves of how do we open up new channels. So we've came up with this idea called Storm DMT, which is up there. We've actually partnered with the South Australian SME called EcoSol to actually deliver that to the market. So there's a nice little connection with South Australia as well, an SME in South Australia. We've assisted other companies commercialise their ideas, whether they be small companies, SMEs, or whether they be technology-based companies or research centres, Auto CRC, the Australian Water Recycling Centre of Excellence, but also large organisations such as Huawei, one of the largest telecommunication companies in the world. We've been working with them to try and take their new technology out into the market. And we have been working with over 30 SMEs, more recently with the Victorian government in there. They're running a couple of programs called Smart SME program, as well as the Innovation Voucher program. So we've been understanding the SME market, their challenges, and then trying to be this intermediary as we connect them into the global supply channels. So some examples, you may have heard these companies. ThermoShield is a Victorian-based SME which puts thermal coatings on buildings. They're working with Rio on their explosive facilities at the moment. There's GPR, another SME organisation with ground penetrating radar, looking at ways to increase or understand the pavement life. And this next example is quite relevant for this topic, this focus today. They're Phoenix Water. So a Victorian-based SME. They were selected as part of the program for the Victorian Innovation Voucher program. Now they came to us, we sat with them, we built a team around them, a mentoring team around them, and we tried to understand their business. And they were focused on their own technology. It's a wastewater technology which effectively takes the clean water to one side and the solids to the other in factions. Now, we spent a bit of time with them to understand really what they were focusing on. And their main aim was to focus on the water utilities market and desalination. But once we unpacked this and connected through our own team around the world, we actually went back to Phoenix Water and said, well, we actually think your great opportunity is in the mineral extraction part of the business. So we can take that technology and rather than focus on the utilities and desalination, why don't we go to another sector, which is the mining sector and the mineral extraction. So since that time, we've had a lot of focus with them and a lot of time with them. So we've managed to secure a loan through the Clean Energy Finance Corporation with them. We've gone off and raised some private equity with them, and we've introduced them into a whole range of opportunities. And currently, contract negotiations are coming to an end, hopefully, with a large project in the USA, which is really about lithium. Obviously, lithium's a key component for batteries, and there's a huge explosion of that at the moment. So that photo on the left is really a photo of a delegation which came out from Korea. It was one of the largest steel manufacturers in the world, coming to meet this pilot facility in Melbourne. So for this program, so as Robert had mentioned before, this Extend program is about 32 hours of our time, not from one person, but a range of people to suit the particular business of the SME. So rather than some generic team, we will actually try and build a team of people and specialists around our business, whether it be in South Australia, outside of South Australia into Australia, or around the world, whatever that technology and what their focus would be. We have two parts to this. We would start with what we call a logic session. In fact, I'll go to the next slide. So we actually sit with this organisation. So our team would sit with that organisation, run through a logic session, really to understand exactly what the focus area is, what the key value propositions are, unique selling positions are, what the technology is, what markets have you been chasing, what are your learnings, what are your successes, and really understand from their perspective. Then we take that out into our workforce. We've got some online platforms which will enable us to connect around the world with our people around the world, and then seek their input about what that can be converted into, something meaningful, which may mean another market or it may mean the same market. And then the second session, and there's a lot of work between the first session and the second session. The second session is what we get delivered to the SMEs, an opportunity matrix. In other words, we'll then take this knowledge of the SME, take our knowledge from around the world, and then convert that into some specific opportunities, rather countries, clients, projects, or different market sectors, and have that in a prioritised form. And then we'll give them some tips about how maybe to take that further. So really the outcome is trying to give a leg up to these organisations, trying to inspire them, trying to give them some business growth. This is really what it's about. Our focus is business growth, and our aim is to connect with them, and then connect them with opportunities, projects, and also have an enduring legacy, an enduring connectivity to GHD. So these partnerships are often hard to get on a personal basis. So what we're looking for is to get some of these personal relationships built up between the SME and our people. And I would be first to recognise that sometimes that's difficult unless you have a program like this, just given the completing and conflicting needs we often have. So with that, I think the session is over. Thank you very much. Look forward to working with a number of you over the coming months. It's a pleasure. It's a very exciting program, so congratulations to the South Australian Government for putting this together, and I think we'll end there. Thank you very much.